The hospital on the space station was busy. Nurses moved quickly between patients, and the soft hum of machines filled the air. Doctors checked screens and adjusted equipment as they went. It was a normal day, or at least it should have been. Then a young woman walked through the sliding doors. She looked ordinary at first glance, with dark hair tied neatly and calm brown eyes. But there was something about her that made the staff pause, a quiet confidence they could not explain. She approached the reception desk without a word. Her voice was soft but firm when she said she was there for a blood test. The clerk typed her information into the system. "Name?" she asked. "Lena," the woman replied. "No last name. No address. Nothing." The clerk raised an eyebrow but did not push. Strange patients were not unusual in a hospital that served travelers from many planets. Lena was guided to a standard testing room. The nurse smiled politely. "Just a routine blood check," she said. Lena nodded. She sat down calmly, her hands resting on her lap. She did not fidget. She did not ask questions. She simply waited. The machine that would scan her blood whirred to life. Small lights blinked across its surface. A needle was gently inserted into her arm, and the machine began its work. At first, everything seemed normal. The readings blinked in their usual rhythm. Then something changed. The lights on the scanner flickered. A soft alarm beeped, then another. The monitor screen flashed red. The doctor who had been standing nearby leaned closer. "That's impossible," he muttered. His voice was low, but it carried across the room. The nurse froze. Lena's calm face did not change. The machine beeped louder, and suddenly a small spark burst from it. The lights went out. Smoke curled from the edges of the scanner. "What just happened?" a junior doctor asked, stepping back. The senior doctor looked at the screen. The words were clear and repeated themselves over and over, "Species not in database." A quiet tension filled the room. Nurses whispered to each other. Machines in other rooms beeped nervously as if they sensed the change. Lena simply sat there, watching the doctors with a calm expression. She did not move, did not seem worried. The senior doctor rubbed his temples. "This can't be," he said. "Every patient we have scanned matches something. Human, alien, hybrid, everything is cataloged. But this is not in the database." A technician hurried in with a portable scanner. "We can run another test," he said. He looked nervous, but the senior doctor shook his head. "No. We need to be careful. If the first machine couldn't handle it, a second one might fail too." Lena finally spoke. Her voice was soft, almost musical, but every word was precise. "I don't know what you expect me to say. I only know that I came for a routine test." Her words were simple, but there was a strange weight to them. The room felt colder, quieter. Doctors and nurses glanced at each other. None of them had ever seen a patient like this. The hospital AI, a calm voice that usually gave instructions and updates, spoke through the intercom. "Alert! Unidentified biological signature detected. Recommend containment and observation." "Containment?" the senior doctor asked, surprised. "She's not dangerous." "No one knows," a nurse said quietly. "We can't take chances." Lena remained seated, calm and composed. She allowed the staff to observe her, to take notes, but she did not resist or argue. Her presence seemed almost patient but also curious, like she was watching them as much as they were watching her. As hours passed, small teams of doctors discussed the readings and the spark from the machine. No one could explain it. The blood sample itself seemed normal in color and volume, but the molecular scan was completely unrecognizable. It did not match any known species. Finally, the senior doctor approached Lena again. "I need to ask you something," he said carefully. "Where are you from?" Lena tilted her head slightly. "I was found as a child," she said simply. "I don't know where I came from. I have no family that I know of." The doctor blinked. "You've lived alone?" "Yes," she said. "I survived. I learned. That's all I can tell you." The hospital staff exchanged quiet whispers. The woman was human in appearance, yet her blood had caused the scanner to explode. Her history was unknown. Her abilities were a mystery. And somehow, she had walked into the hospital as if nothing extraordinary had happened. By the end of the day, Lena was still seated in her observation room. Staff kept their distance, unsure how to treat her. But one thing was clear: she was not ordinary. She had arrived quietly with no fanfare, but her presence had changed the hospital forever. The lights of the space station flickered softly as the sun from a nearby star streamed through the large windows. Outside, ships came and went, but inside the hospital, everyone knew that something unusual had begun. A patient had arrived and no one knew the limits of her story or her power. After the incident with the scanner, the hospital staff remained uneasy. Lena was placed in a private observation room. Doctors and nurses walked cautiously, unsure how to interact with her. No one had ever seen anything like her. Her blood had caused a machine to explode, yet she was calm, composed, and very human in appearance. The senior doctor, Dr. Karan, decided to run careful tests. He instructed the staff to collect small samples of her blood, to measure her vital signs and to observe her closely. Lena allowed everything, sitting quietly in her chair. She didn't complain, didn't fidget, and didn't ask for anything beyond water and a simple meal. The test began. Each machine beeped and scanned, trying to analyze her blood. The results were confusing. Her blood cells were normal in size and shape, but the DNA sequences were unlike anything the hospital had ever recorded. There were no matches to humans, aliens, or hybrids. Every analysis ended with the same message: species not in database. Dr. Karan frowned as he stared at the data. "I've seen a lot of rare genetics in my career," he said quietly. "But nothing like this. It's as if she evolved differently." Lena listened silently. Finally she spoke, her voice calm and measured. "I don't know where I came from. I only know that I survived." The statement was simple, but it carried a weight the doctors could not explain. Dr. Karan motioned for the AI to monitor her constantly. "Keep her stable but don't disturb her unnecessarily," he instructed. "We don't know what her body can handle." As hours passed, the staff noticed unusual things. Her wounds healed almost instantly, far faster than a normal human. A small scratch on her arm disappeared within minutes. When she walked, she moved with perfect balance and coordination. Her reflexes were sharp, catching objects before they could fall. The nurses whispered to each other. "She's incredible," one said. "Like she's more than human." "Yes, but what is she?" another asked, her voice trembling slightly. Lena remained polite, answering questions only when asked, but never showing fear or impatience. She watched the doctors carefully, as if she were learning about them as they were learning about her. The hospital's AI ran simulations to predict what her blood might do. Each prediction failed. Her physiology was unique, adaptive, and resilient. Machines could not fully understand her. Even the AI paused, reporting only, "Unknown parameters detected. Cannot proceed with standard models." Dr. Karan called a private meeting with his senior staff. "We cannot experiment recklessly," he said. "She is not just a patient. She is something new. We have to respect her limits." Despite his caution, curiosity was strong. The staff wanted answers. Where had she come from? How had she survived alone? Why did her blood have properties no known species possessed? Lena sensed their questions without them needing to speak. One evening she spoke quietly to Dr. Karan. "I was found on a distant planet when I was very young. I don't remember my parents. I learned to survive on my own. That is all I know." Her words explained little, yet they revealed more than she intended. The hospital staff realized she was not lying, nor was she hiding her abilities. She had simply adapted to survive in a universe that offered no guidance or safety. Dr. Karan looked at her closely. "You are remarkable," he said softly. "I've never met anyone like you." She smiled faintly. "I do what I must. I only want to help." The next few days passed quietly. Lena began to assist in small tasks around the observation room. She organized medical supplies efficiently, almost intuitively. Staff noticed how quickly she learned and remembered procedures. Machines that normally required careful monitoring seemed to respond better when she was near. One nurse, curious, asked her, "How can you do all this? You just seem different." Lena paused. "I pay attention. I notice what others don't. I try to understand before I act." It was simple advice, yet it carried a depth the nurse did not fully grasp. The staff began to appreciate her presence. She was calm, thoughtful, and highly capable. Slowly, fear and suspicion turned into respect and curiosity. By the end of the week, Dr. Karan decided to expand her observation. "We will continue tests," he said to his staff, "but only to understand, not to harm. She may teach us things we cannot learn anywhere else." Lena nodded. "I will help," she said, "but only in ways that help others, not myself." That evening, as the space station orbited silently, Lena sat by the window watching stars pass. She had no home, no family, but for the first time she felt a place where she belonged. The hospital had become more than a building of machines and data. It was a place where someone like her could exist without fear. And though the staff still had questions, one thing was clear. Lena was not ordinary. She was unique. She was human in some ways but something more in others. Her presence promised new discoveries, new possibilities, and a reminder that even in the vast universe, life could surprise in ways no one expected. For the first time, the hospital staff realized that the scanner's explosion was not a threat, it was a sign. A sign that something extraordinary had arrived, and that their understanding of life in the universe would never be the same again. A week had passed since Lena arrived at the hospital. The staff had grown more comfortable around her, though curiosity and caution remained. She had been observed, studied, and quietly respected for her calm and gentle nature. Still, no one knew the full extent of her abilities, or what she might do. It was late in the evening when the alarm sounded. A minor system failure had occurred in the life support units on one of the station's lower decks. Oxygen levels were dropping, and the automated repair drones were struggling to fix the problem. The hospital staff rushed to respond, but even with their best efforts, the situation was serious. Dr. Karan, leading the team, barked instructions. "We need to stabilize the system manually. Keep the patient ward secure. We can't risk anyone's life." Lena had been quietly observing from a corner, reading a digital report on her tablet. She stood slowly and approached Dr. Karan. "I can help," she said simply. The senior doctor hesitated. "You? This is dangerous. You don't even know the station's systems." "I do," she replied, her voice calm but confident. "I can interface with them. I can fix this." Dr. Karan exchanged glances with his staff. No one argued. Lena had already earned their cautious trust. She had been careful, helpful, and considerate since her arrival. Now she offered her help in a situation where human or known alien staff could not manage alone. She walked to the control panel, placing her hands on the touch interface. The lights on the panel flickered, reacting to her presence. Doctors and technicians watched in silence as her fingers moved with precise, almost instinctive motions. Data flowed across the screens. Codes and sequences rearranged themselves under her touch. "Wait, what is she doing?" one nurse whispered. "She's repairing it," another replied. Minutes passed, though they felt like hours. Lena's calm focus was unbroken. She adjusted settings, rerouted power, and corrected programming errors faster than any machine could. Slowly, the oxygen levels stabilized. The life support system returned to normal, and the alarms ceased. The hospital staff exhaled in relief. Dr. Karan stepped forward, astonished. "I've never seen anything like this," he said softly. "How did you know what to do?" Lena looked up at him, her expression serene. "I understand systems. I learn quickly. I know what to fix because I can see what is wrong." Her explanation was simple, yet it carried a quiet power. The staff began to realize that her abilities were not just medical. They extended beyond biology into technology and logic. She could adapt, analyze, and act where others could only follow instructions. After the crisis was over, Dr. Karan gathered the staff in the observation room. "She's proven herself," he said. "She saved lives tonight. I know some of you may be worried about what she is, but we must see her for what she has shown us: capable, intelligent, and trustworthy." The staff nodded quietly, still processing the event. Lena had not sought recognition. She had acted because she could, because she understood the consequences, and because she wanted to help. That was what made her remarkable. Over the next few days, Lena began assisting in small technical tasks around the hospital. She repaired broken equipment, optimized medical machines, and helped the AI improve its efficiency. Staff observed her methods with curiosity and respect. She never forced her knowledge on anyone. Instead, she quietly guided, showed, and taught. Even the hospital AI seemed to respond differently around her. Systems that once required complex instructions now adapted seamlessly to her presence. She had a way of interacting with technology that felt natural, almost intuitive. One afternoon, a young nurse asked her, "Do you think you're human?" Lena paused, considering the question. "I look human. I act human. But I am what I am. That is enough. What matters is what I do, not what I am called." Her words made a deep impression. Staff began to see her not as a mystery to be solved, but as a person, a being whose abilities could inspire, assist, and teach. Her uniqueness was not a threat, it was a gift. By the end of the week, Dr. Karan made a decision. Lena would be allowed to participate in controlled hospital operations. She would observe, assist, and occasionally lead when her skills were needed. But she would never be treated as a test subject. She was no longer just an unknown species. She was a valued member of the hospital team. The first test of trust had passed. Lena had not only stabilized a failing system but had earned the quiet admiration of every staff member. She had proven that her presence was not a danger but a strength. That evening, as the space station rotated slowly in the darkness of space, Lena sat by a large window. She watched distant stars pass silently, her reflection in the glass mingling with the endless expanse outside. For the first time she felt a connection, not just to the people she helped, but to a world that had once seemed foreign and dangerous. Her journey was only beginning. The hospital had tested her and she had passed. She had shown that her abilities could save lives, bridge gaps, and inspire trust. And though the universe was vast and unknown, Lena understood something important. Her presence mattered and she could make a difference, one careful step at a time. After the incident with the life support system, the hospital staff began to see Lena in a new light. No longer was she just the patient whose blood had caused a scanner to explode. She was someone who could help, someone who could solve problems in ways no one else could. Her calm confidence and intelligence earned her quiet respect, even from those who had initially been suspicious. Dr. Karan called a meeting with the senior staff. "We need to recognize her contributions," he said. "She is unlike anyone we've ever encountered and she has abilities that can help us. But we must also respect her boundaries. She is not here to be studied like a lab specimen." The staff agreed. Slowly, Lena became more involved in hospital operations. She helped organize the medbay, improved the efficiency of medical robots, and suggested ways to streamline patient care. Her methods were simple, clear, and effective. Even the most skeptical staff members had to admit that her presence made the hospital run smoother. One afternoon, a young alien patient arrived, frightened and in pain. The staff tried to comfort him, but he recoiled at their approach. Lena knelt beside him, speaking softly in a calm voice. She did not force him to respond. She simply waited, giving him space and safety. Minutes later, the boy reached out to her. He allowed her to check his vitals and help him onto a bed. The nurses watched in awe. Her quiet presence could calm fear and inspire trust, something they had never seen in anyone before. Word about Lena spread through the hospital quickly. Staff from other departments came to observe her work. They were curious, cautious, and amazed. Her reputation grew, but she never boasted or sought recognition. She simply continued to help, quietly and efficiently. One evening, Dr. Karan spoke to her privately. "You have changed the way we think about life, Lena," he said. "Not just human life or alien life but all life. You've shown us that there are things we don't understand and that sometimes those unknowns can be a force for good." Lena nodded, her expression calm. "I do not wish to be a symbol," she said softly. "I only want to help. That is enough for me." Her humility impressed the doctors and nurses even more. They realized that her greatness was not just in her abilities, but in her choice to use them for others. She could have demanded power, control, or recognition. Instead, she chose patience, care, and quiet leadership. Over the next few weeks, Lena's influence grew. She taught young nurses how to remain calm under pressure, how to observe before acting, and how to think creatively when standard procedures failed. Her lessons were simple but profound. They did not require special machines or advanced technology, only attention, patience, and understanding. Even the hospital AI seemed to respond better around her. Systems that were previously slow or glitchy adapted quickly under her supervision. Machines, staff, and patients alike thrived when she was present. One day, the hospital received a communication from a research station in a distant sector. They had learned about Lena and her abilities through official channels. The message was clear. They wanted to study her blood for possible medical breakthroughs. Dr. Karan called a meeting to discuss the message. "We cannot allow anyone to exploit her," he said firmly. "She is not a specimen. She is a person and she has chosen to help us, not for fame or profit, but because it is right." Lena listened quietly to the discussion. When it was her turn to speak, she said simply, "I will not allow anyone to take what I am for their gain. I will help only where it benefits others, not myself." Her words reinforced what the staff already knew. Lena's strength was not just her abilities but her character. She had the power to amaze, to heal, and to inspire. Yet she remained humble, patient, and careful with that power. The hospital staff began to see Lena as a bridge, between humans and aliens, between the known and the unknown, between fear and trust. Her presence reminded them that the universe was larger and more mysterious than they had ever imagined. And it also reminded them that humanity could rise to meet the unknown, not with fear but with courage, intelligence, and compassion. By the end of the month, Lena was fully integrated into the hospital's daily life. She assisted in operations, guided new staff, and helped patients of all species. Her quiet leadership created a sense of unity and hope. Even those who had been wary of her in the beginning now turned to her for advice and guidance. As she looked out at the stars from the observation deck one night, Lena reflected on the changes she had seen. The hospital was no longer just a place of medicine and machines. It was a place of understanding, trust, and growth. She had arrived as an unknown, a mystery, but she had become a symbol of possibility, proof that one individual, no matter how different, could inspire change and bring out the best in others. And while her origins remained a mystery, one thing was certain. Lena had earned recognition not through force or power, but through her courage, her intelligence, and her unwavering commitment to help those around her. The universe was vast, and unknown challenges awaited. But here on this station she had shown that humanity's greatest strength was its heart, and its ability to rise to the unknown with wisdom and care. Months had passed since Lena arrived at the hospital. What had begun as fear and confusion had turned into trust and admiration. Doctors, nurses, and even patients looked to her as a quiet guide, someone who could solve problems calmly and intelligently. Yet she remained humble, never seeking praise or recognition. The hospital had changed because of her. Machines were more efficient, procedures ran more smoothly, and patients of all species felt safer under the staff's care. Lena had taught the team to think differently, to observe carefully, and to act with both intelligence and empathy. Her influence had become a steady, guiding presence. One morning, Dr. Karan called her to the control room. The hospital's senior staff was gathered, discussing a new medical initiative. "We are preparing to admit a group of travelers from an uncharted sector," he said. "Their biology is completely unknown. Standard scanners may not work and their needs could be unusual." Lena nodded. "I can help," she said simply. "I will assist in any way that benefits them." The staff exchanged glances. They had come to rely on her abilities, not as a crutch, but as a bridge between what they knew and what they could not yet understand. Lena had become the hospital's living guide to the unknown, a symbol of curiosity, courage, and compassion. As the first ship docked, medical staff prepared for routine checks. Yet they were nervous. Unknown species could carry unexpected diseases or require unusual care. The hospital AI hummed quietly, monitoring all systems, but even it seemed uncertain. Lena stood among the staff, calm and observant. When the travelers entered the med bay, it was Lena who welcomed them. She spoke softly, observing their reactions and learning quickly from their gestures and expressions. Within minutes she had established trust. The travelers allowed the staff to perform their checks, guided gently by Lena's presence. Dr. Karan watched in awe. "She doesn't just help with machines or tests," he whispered to a colleague. "She connects with people. She understands them. That is something no scanner can measure." Over the following weeks, Lena continued to assist in ways that surprised the staff. She organized medical schedules, helped optimize life support systems, and provided guidance for patients from countless species. She adapted quickly, learning every new biological pattern and behavior. Her insights were simple, clear, and effective, yet they often surpassed the most advanced AI programs in usefulness. Despite her growing influence, Lena never demanded attention or special treatment. She preferred quiet observation and gentle guidance. Staff began to admire not only her skills, but her humility and patience. She had the power to amaze, yet she used it only to help others. One evening, as Lena walked through the hospital corridors, a young nurse approached her. "Lena," the nurse said softly, "do you ever feel alone? You don't have a family here. You came from somewhere unknown." Lena smiled faintly. "I was alone once," she said. "But I am not alone now. I have people who trust me, who need me. That is enough." Her words reminded the nurse that family was not always bound by blood. It could be built through trust, care, and shared purpose. Lena had become a part of the hospital family, and through her the staff had learned that differences were not something to fear, they were something to embrace. The hospital began to prepare for more unknown travelers, expanding its systems to accommodate biological signatures that no scanner had ever recognized. Lena helped design these upgrades, working alongside engineers and doctors. Her presence had inspired not just trust but innovation. Dr. Karan often observed her from a distance, reflecting on how far she had come. A patient whose blood once caused a scanner to explode had now become a teacher, a guide, and a symbol of hope. She had changed the hospital not through force or power but through intelligence, care, and the courage to act. Late at night, Lena sometimes returned to the observation deck. She gazed at the stars, the endless points of light that marked the vastness of space. She had no home to call her own, no past to return to. Yet here on this station she had found purpose. She had found people who valued her, who trusted her, and who had learned from her. In that quiet moment she understood something important. The universe was full of unknowns, and humans, and those like her, were capable of rising to meet them. It was not machines or advanced technology that mattered most. It was understanding, empathy, and the willingness to act wisely and kindly. Lena turned from the window, her gaze steady. The hospital was quiet but alive with potential. Every patient, every staff member, and every system she had touched carried the influence of her presence. She had become more than a mystery. She had become a part of something greater. And as the space station rotated silently among the stars, Lena walked through the halls with quiet confidence. She had arrived as the unexpected patient, a being unknown and unexplained. But she had become a symbol of hope, courage, and the limitless potential of humanity. The journey of discovery was only beginning, and Lena was ready to meet it, one step at a time.